Good morning, Miss Stratemeyer.
Good morning, Miss Griswold. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing okay. I have real bad allergies right now. I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing that.
I know
The
Mr.
pollen's
Don is.
crazy.
Well, with this wind, I think it's like, I wonder if it's blowing all the pollen around and everything.
It's been like the windiest 2 months of my life.
Well, I'm excited to see you, even though your eyes seem puffy, but they don't look puffy to me.
I'll cut it out. Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm excited to get to read because last week, we were starting to get really into the book. Red finally broke that rule about talking.
I know. I can't believe it.
I couldn't
Our
believe it either.
characters really starting to fill us in on what has taken place over the last couple decades.
Yeah, so he was starting to tell us he started to tell us about Maeve, who seemed like a really kind and gentle girl as she was growing up. And so it was really interesting to hear about another person years and years ago from the neighborhood.
Yeah, and how those wishes really started, right?
Right. All right, so we're going to get started on chapter 33 today. All right. Chapter 33. As the weeks passed, the piece of fabric on my branch drew many comments. Some of the folks in our neighborhood, the ones from Ireland, would nod knowingly and smile. To them, Maeve would simply say in her lilting voice, "That's my raggy tree. She's not a hawthorn, but she'll do just fine." People who'd come here from other lands, and there were many of them, would frown at the rag or even reach up to remove it. Maeve would warn, "Don't you be touching my wish now." Patiently, again and again, she would explain out how in her old home, leaving wishes on a raggy tree was a time-honored tradition. That's interesting. I was wondering why she put the wish on the tree, how that came about. Now and then, people would ask Maeve what she'd wished for. She'd tell them the truth, with a sigh and a wry smile. "Nothing much, just someone to love with all my heart. Nothing much at all." Sometimes people would laugh. Sometimes they would roll their eyes. "A wish on a rag won't bring you love, dearie," they would say. But usually, people gave Maeve a kind smile, a squeeze on the arm, a knowing nod, and they too would ask if they could add a wish of their own.
Here we go.
34. Another year passed. As May neared, I found myself hosting more scraps of fabric than budding leaves. Squibbles tried to steal a few fabric strips to line his tray, the nest made of leaves and twigs high in one of my forked branches. I explained he'd have to stick with moss and pine needles until the 1st of May. Wishes, according to Maeve, could not be touched until after May Day. Then, the ones that weren't carried off in the wind or dragged to the ground by the rain could be removed by people, or by enterprising squirrels. I suspect she made up that rule for my benefit, so I could grow unfettered without the weight of wet rags dragging me down. Just before dawn on the 1st of May, a young woman approached me. She had dark, wavy hair and wore a tattered gray coat. In her arms was a wrapped bundle. Wonder what that bundle is. Psst! Squibbles whispered to me. "Here comes another wish, Red." But Squibbles was wrong. There was no wish. Swiftly, but with great care, the girl placed her bundle in my hollow. A thank you for Maeve, I realized. A loaf of bread, perhaps? The girl had probably been one of her patients. She was gone as quickly as she'd come. Like a hummingbird, I thought. There, then not there. Like a gust of wind.
Something wrapped in a bundle that might look like a loaf of bread?
Yeah, I wonder what that could be.
I have an idea in my mind.
I have an idea in my mind, too.
When the author foreshadows like that. All right, chapter 35. Just a few minutes later, Maeve opened the door of the little brown house. She smiled at me and at the scraps waving in the early morning breeze. And then came the cry. Wail was more like it. Coming from me? Not the meek peep of a wren chick, not the shy squeak of a mouse pup. No, this was a cry of righteous indignation. This was a baby. Someone left a baby there.
Oh my gosh, that was the bundle.
Chapter 36. The baby had a note attached to her blanket. Haltingly, Maeve tried to read it out loud. Italian, she murmured. Only later, when she consulted one of her patients, did she understand its meaning. Please give her the care I cannot. I wish for you both a life of love. The baby's hair was black. Maeve's was red. The baby's eyes were brown. Maeve's were blue. The baby was Italian. Maeve was Irish. They were made for each other. Maeve named the baby Amadora, which meant in Italian, the gift of love. I love how the note said, I wish for you both a life of love, because it's like she knew she couldn't take care of the baby and she gave the baby to Red in, like, that's the biggest wish you could ever give.
I know, and she was wishing for somebody to love her.
And Maeve was wanting all those years to have that. All right, let's see, chapter 37. Many in the neighborhood didn't approve of an unmarried Irish woman raising an abandoned Italian baby. People talked, as they will, and they tisk-ticks, as they must. Some people were even angry. They said hurtful things. They told Maeve that Amadora didn't belong. They told Maeve she and the baby should leave.
Oh my gosh.
Maeve merely smiled, held Amadora close, and waited and hoped. On dark nights when hope was scarce, she would sing an old Irish tune mixed with a newer Italian song that she had learned from a neighbor. The melody was sweet. The words were silly. The effect was always the same, a smile from little Alma. Sure enough, the longer Maeve waited, the kinder people grew. And before long, Alma, as she came to be called, was as much a part of our messy garden as all the rest of us. When Alma was old enough to feed Squibbles and his family, she did. When she was strong enough to climb me, she did. And when she was ready to make wishes of her own, she did. Alma grew up steady and honest and kind, like her mother, and had babies of her own, and then grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Eventually, Alma and her husband bought the little brown house and the one right next to it, and painted them blue and green. Years later, they purchased the house across the street and began to rent the blue and green houses to other families. The family grew and prospered and argued and failed and loved and laughed. Always and forever, the laughter kept them going. And when Alma's grandson had a little girl, he chose a fine Italian name for her with a fine Irish middle name, Francesca Maeve.
It's all making sense.
I know, so fill me in. Okay, I'm thinking it.
All right, so it's so interesting. So Maeve must have been the grandson? Oh, the grandson of the little girl. So it must be, is it the grandchild?
Yes, the great-grandchild. So Francesca Maeve is the great-grandchild of Alma, who is the daughter of Maeve.
And now it's all making sense. And then I noticed about the houses, the blue and green, and that's now where Samar is living. And I think that's where Red was saying that he was seeing all of these changes and he grew up with all of these different people around him.
And it's like a pattern, you know, the neighborhood was not loving the fact that Maeve was going to take care of this little baby that necessarily wasn't hers, and people talked, and it made me think of when they wrote Leave on the Tree about Samar's family. So I'm starting to see this pattern, and sadly, it's a pattern that we see a lot, you know, even in our own neighborhoods with hate and prejudice. And you might not know what that word means, that word prejudice, but sadly, sometimes what I'm seeing in the book and what I'm making my own meaning is that it seems like people aren't liking others just based on like being Italian or Irish. So what I would like you all to do this week is we showed you in our previous videos how to get on dictionary.com or how to look up the word. I want you to look up that word prejudice and then post to us, what does that word mean? And why do you think that's like a theme in this novel? And if you could also add on there how Red is trying to teach the people in the community why that's not an okay thing to do. Sound good?
I think that sounds great. And I think that'll help them not only understand the book, but understand real life too.
I love it. And that's what we always want, is to understand what we read and make connections to real life. So maybe they could even add one of those on there.
Yeah, that would be...
Never experienced it.
Right.
Okay, that would be perfect. All right, so until next time, you've got a big job to do. Look up that word. Tell us how it is becoming a theme, or it is a theme throughout the book Wishtree. And then if you've ever experienced it or heard of something that is a good example of prejudice, you can post that too.
Yeah, can't wait to hear your guys' responses.
All right, until next time, Miss Griswold.
All right, see ya.
See ya. Hasta la vista.